Welcome back to Gran Jacamito here in the Pedroche Valley of Andalusia, Spain. There has been no rain since the end of May, and I would like to show you around in the Wannabe food forest where we have this acacia tree flowering. And we are also setting a few more Paulownia trees, and we also have a product in the form of a hot and spicy pepper. These trees were planted and got a bucket of water each. The drip irrigation line is missing, that will follow the next day. The color of the soil in here is a little bit different than outside. It's because there is a lot more biomass in here. Of course, it's not the same like deep soils elsewhere. We are just at the beginning, but you can definitely see that it's not as sandy and light colored as it was before. So I think this is on the right track. And here we have the product. It's a pepper on the spicy side. It's called red missile, and it's capsicum annuum like all the peppers. And I look forward to taste it once it's really red. When Angel planted them, he also set 3 tomato plants here, and there's one of them. The grey water pond is quickly losing water, and at some point I guess we need to fill it up, because our grey water is not enough to keep this filled. But the vetiver is definitely making roots, and it can reach the water that is still there. So that is a very good thing. And even those things here in the middle of the animal lane have a water source, apparently. I'm not really sure how this is turning out on camera, but there is a lot of green there where the white flowers are also are. And this is all the Bermudagrass that is coming up in here. I intend to fly the drone tomorrow morning when it's a little bit cooler, but this is improving and there is forage production here. The calves have been in here a few times when there was an opportunity, so they nipped on it, but that's not a bad thing. They should eat something fresh. This might also not be perfect, but it's definitely more than last year. So there's more and more of the Bermudagrass coming up. More moisture would help, but it is working. So this is the beginning of the preparation for the Miyawaki forest. The idea is to fill this up with a lot of organic matter. And at the same time, we feed the animals. And later the pigs will come in and do their chore. And after a little while, if you look at the project descriptions that we have at kaimito.eu, you will then see how this is supposed to continue. This is a multi-year project, and basically we are taking out this area out of production in order to establish a dense forest so that later we can keep poultry in it. We have planted quite a few of those already, but what you see here is all those plants where the rats have been at, and they are coming back. It is the fastest treeing in the world, and as you can see, they are making new leaves, and really no serious damage happened. And here in this place they're a little bit more protected. So we had an accident, but we have recovered. Let's go and see the bull, how he is, and give him some feed. The feed is going to be this bag. This is about 4 kilo of alfalfa pellet, and that should help him. Mr. Bull. He is standing, he's hurting, but he also eats. So let's hope that over time he will be okay. As you can see, when they fight, they are not really gentle. So over time they have scars. That's what bulls do. And yeah, he's gotten a bit slim. See, there's more scars. So this should help him with protein. And hopefully he will stay around. And staying around, yeah, that's another thing. So he has offspring. And when the females are becoming receptible heifers, then he might, yeah, make pregnant his own daughters. And that's the problem then. So it's not yet the time, but that's something to think about. So he needs to leave, and leave here in this area means for meat. It does not mean for breeding, because breeding around here works in a totally different way. And he is a mixed bovine, so of different bovine breeds. So people are not really interested in him for breeding. But we intend to keep him for as long as possible, because every mouse and every backside is helping our effort to add biomass to this land. So it's a good thing that he stays strong and on his 4 feet. So here you can see the temperature that we have. It is pretty hot. And I have to admit, this box there contains the batteries. It is 16 of them, and they are also not liking the temperature. We are way behind with a lot of things. Originally we wanted to build something to get this out of the heat, but it didn't happen at the moment, and I hope this is not going to be a problem. The inverter, which is the box up there, will shut them down or shut them off if they are getting too hot. So there's no risk of fire or something like that, but it is a problem. And that heat spell will last a few days only, and then it should be more in a more moderate range. But the next one is probably coming in a little while, so won't be the last one. The heat and a little bit of water makes these Paulownia trees grow very well. We have not gotten around to seed some ground cover here, but we have it, and we are about to do an experiment, hopefully tomorrow, with some different type of sprinkler here, that we can then use to provide moisture to the ground cover so that this will germinate. The ground cover is going to be Bermudagrass, and we want to establish this here. There in the back you can see another Paulownia tree. It's a lonely tree, but this tree will not be alone for a long time, because we decided that we use the remaining Paulownia trees that we still have, that we could not plant for all kinds of reasons, that we will use them here in the compound in several areas. And where exactly, you will see soon, or maybe I can show a diagram that I created and explain this a little bit. The idea with these additional Paulownias is we want to have some shade here in the compound, and the fastest and easiest way is by using those very fast growing trees. So maybe in some 3 or 4 years we should have enough trees that are tall enough to provide shade, like the one Schneeflocke had been enjoying. Quite interesting is also this pigweed that is growing all over the place here in front of our temporary house. There has been no rain since the end of May, and this stuff continues growing here, so it finds enough moisture in that soil that got moved multiple times. And there in the background you can see another one that grew pretty tall, and this, by the way, is also the area where we want to set some of the Paulownia trees. This area has been in and out of scope for a while, and now I think we figured out what we can do here. So the idea is to put these trees here at the edge. There are stones to the right side to keep the soil in place, and to the left it is pretty loose. So there we can set a line of those Paulownia trees, and when they are a little bit taller they will provide some shade for the house, which is right here next to it. Here we have another small experiment that is going on. Based on suggestions from one of you, I went out and cut a few branches from a tree that is not an oak and put them here in water to see that some roots develop. They do develop, and soon I will put them in a pot to give them some soil, and this way we can also propagate a tree. So we are getting a little bit in the direction of a nursery and working with plants, and not only with animals and fences. Of course there's a learning curve involved. A lot of this is completely new, not only to me but also to the guys who have never worked in this way. Their past experience is more like a factory worker. Do this, do that, that's your station, this is your job, don't think left and right. But that's not how we work, and they pretty much enjoy that we don't work this way. So we also have a daily meeting. Here and there we skip it because there's work, but we do have a daily meeting, and in that meeting I try to share all the things that I learn in order to provide some training. And those here are the Paulownias that we still have to plant. The chive is still alive. I provided water frequently every day, and I hope it will stay alive. Of course I should plant it out, but I have no place where I can do this. So at the moment it has to be contained in the little containers. The Paulownia trees in here, which is B1, have not received water in a while. So the last time they got some water by irrigation is a month ago. And as you can see, they are still around. They managed to find water somewhere deep. So they have rooted well and continue to grow. Of course there's this problem with the wind. When autumn comes around, the wind that comes from that direction. But we will do something to protect them when the time comes. And also at that time we want to graze in here, so we need to provide some protection anyway. We will do this with some wire mesh around it to protect it from the grazing animals, and then we will also add something against the wind when we are finally in November and this becomes an issue. The Paulownia trees here in the back of the Wannabe food forest have received their own water line, and I just open it because with all the heat and they are very little, it is necessary to give them a boost. They won't be waterlogged anymore like before because we used the excavator when we planted them. But that also means that the soil is loose and will absorb the moisture very quickly. And for example, the one there is definitely in distress and needs more water. But they should come up and then look like the others that we have next to the yurt in the future dog enclosure. As this is receiving a little bit of drip irrigation here and there, a lot of other plants, the volunteers, show up. And the lavender is probably at the end of its flowering cycle now. The membrillo is trying to shed some leaves in order to conserve energy for the fruit, but it's probably also in stress because of the heat. It should have enough water, but I will show you in a second that our grey water pond is pretty low. Here we have also some drip irrigation, usually once a week, but the volunteers are taking advantage of this. The few tomato plants in here, like that one, they are growing, but there's still a long way to go. The squash that we planted here in full sun likes it much better. So no planting in shade, even if the Andalusian sun is very, very hot. And there are more of the volunteers, but there's also the offspring from the tree. And the tree itself is also showing signs of heat, or I would think heat stress. So the leaves that have become yellow, that is the stress. The other one behind does not show the same thing, so it's maybe just that one, and this one is shielding the other one from the sun a bit, so it seems. Here we have more of these volunteers. They will be cut for mulch, so that is very good that they show up, and they will be transformed. And here behind I can show this variety of Capsicum annuum. It gets drip irrigation because they are very young and they're coming up quite nice. There's also 3 tomato plants here at the end, and I hope I can show you a little bit of detail. So they will be fire red. It's called a rocket of some sort, and they are supposed to be spicy. We will see how they will taste. What also is interesting, a few drops that got spilled here and there made the volunteer come up in the middle of the animal lane, or soon to be animal lane again, because right now, as you can see, this is blocked on both sides because we have not gotten around to move on that side the fence and make a new fence on this side here. So this will be connected and the fence will then go here. But that is for autumn, when we can actually do this. And now that we are in the height of summer, I can also show the sad state of our grey water pond. The vetiver doesn't mind, because it seems that the vetiver successfully established roots that reach far enough down, and you can see this is not really filled up. It's evaporation, and probably also because the moisture level in the soil is going further down. The plan is to fill this up tomorrow, so that also the trench that is behind there and goes to those trees also gets filled, because there's a lot of vetiver that grew very well, but now it doesn't, which is why you don't see any tall green leaves there, but you see them from the older vetiver that is here at the edge. So the idea is to make rain and fill it up so that it goes out there and into the trench. And we have installed a bypass to our pump that usually fills a water tower, contains some 5,000 liters, so that we can use the pump directly, so that we don't have a gravity-fed system anymore, but one that has a powerful pump behind. And that is what we want to use for a few things. And we will test this to fill up this grey water pond a little bit. You might also notice that the color of the water has changed. Before it was very, very green, and now it isn't anymore. So this might well be that the vetiver is already beginning to do its job. Because you can clearly see here that is a lot more transparent than it used to be. So the algae are gone. Might be another reason, but it's getting a little bit better, I would think. The same we observed when the trench was filled, the trench where the vetiver is. In there we have the other kitty hiding. She is now allowed to roam. So we now have 2 cats in here. This one is female, as we believe, and Mr. Cat, but she's still very young. It's not our intention to breed cats in here, but they were gifted to us, and the person is thinking that maybe here at our place the animal has a better chance of surviving. But I think I told you the story before. So Mr. and Mrs. Cat. This is one of the places where we want to plant those Paulownia trees. There in the corner, over there is one that is Paulownia tomentosa. That's the beautiful variety, while the other ones are elongata and go up. And the idea is to use those trees here to provide some shade. We are looking south, so the idea is to provide some shade in the area where I'm standing. Here we have a structure in the future, at least that's the current thinking. But that is where we can also add a few of the trees. So now everybody is showing up because it is less hot, at least in the shade, and they all want to greet me, which is nice. That is when you have so many dogs. So for those who do not know them, so this here is Schneemann. There we have Schneeflocke. And here we have Knut. This one here. This one is Knut. There we have little Oliver. He is the smallest of all. Here we have Franz. Well, the males always do that, but they behave usually, especially when I tell them to be nice to each other. And there is nummer 8. Means number 8. When I was calling them when they were little, she was always missing, and so that is why she got the name, because I always asked the question, where is nummer 8, when I was counting them, and that is the name that stuck. And there's someone missing. The missing one is Olaf, but I think I saw him go in there, and their mother is also there, because that structure there provides some shade. And here's also Checker. Checker is a very naughty female dog. but they are all well educated and mostly do what I tell them. And they're also bilingual, or actually trilingual, because now I'm speaking English and the guys talk to them in Spanish and I usually speak German to them. Yeah. So that is when they want more attention. Na, checker? That's good? Mm-hmm. See, now they want the belly scratch, which is important.